Hello, everybody, and hello, Professor. This is Mr. Muniz, Michael Muniz from ITL 510, and this is my in-depth discussion about my experience um, during my read aloud to my fifth grade class at Jackson Elementary in Sanger, California. So, the book that I had read to my fifth grade class was Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and my rationale for choosing this book is because I believe that it is a fun book. Some may say that it's a little easy for fifth graders, but I really love the rich vocabulary that this book has. It isn't very short, it isn't very long, um, and it is really, really fun to actually read and to learn about and to discuss with a class, especially fifth graders. So that was my rationale behind choosing that book. And it's one of my favorites. I've read the book many times, I've seen the movie, and many of my kids have done both as well. And so let me discuss a little bit about the process in preparing for my read aloud. So the night before is when I really read this over and over and over, and I found that there were a few words that I knew I would possibly trip up on and mispronounce. Um, and so I wanted to make sure that I was prepared for that so that my kids would understand what I was saying and what the word meant, and knew that I at least gave it my all and tried. So what I did is I read every single page, every word, and I even read it to my wife here at home, and got prepared in that way, and especially speaking up in front of my class because I knew that even though I speak to them Monday through Friday, all day during lessons, that being recorded for a class and having that in the back of my mind would make me nervous. So I made sure that I prepared for this. Uh, how did I feel before reading to them, and when I began, while I was reading, and when I was done? So before I read, again, knowing that I was going to be recorded, I started to get a little nervous, and I knew that I didn't want to prep my class and to tell them to be quiet the whole time. I wanted to be genuine, but I did tell my class that I would be doing a read aloud of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and that it was for Mr. Muniz's class because I still go to school to get a good education so that I'm learning things. So my class does know that I'm still going to school and to get my credentials for teaching. But regardless, they still see me as their teacher, and they trust me, and we all enjoy each other. So regardless of the fact that I see them and talk to them on an everyday basis, I was nervous before, and I even started to feel like I was gonna start to sweat, and I did, knowing that all eyes were on me, that that camera was on me, and it was being recorded, and that possibly other people would see this in class or my professor. So it was nervousness before. During, I was nervous, heart beating faster, sweating a little bit, but as the story progressed and as I'm making contact with my class, eye contact with them, and then back to the book and making eye contact with them, I knew they were engaged. I can see it on their faces that they were smiling through certain aspects of the book and certain words. And so I knew that they were enjoying it and, again, engaged with it and listening and enjoying. So during the reading, it started to progress and become more comfortable, and then I knew that towards the end, that the camera was still on me. I kind of got back into reality, and then I got a little bit nervous again towards the end. But it did go smoothly. I did stumble across a couple of words, and I knew one of them was uneventfully. Um, and it just happens, even when I'm not recorded and I do read alouds to my class. I do stumble through some words, but as long as I backtrack and repronounce it correctly, or I admit my mistakes, my class usually forgives, and then it goes well after that. So um, during, before, and after my read aloud, it went really, really well. But again, nervousness and I think that's kind of a natural thing. What were my children's reactions during the book, before and after? Well, before they were excited to know that I was going to be reading Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I think one or two of my kids had at least claimed they had read it before, but not many of them had. Many of them had seen the movie, but we all know books are much better than the movie itself, especially when we can hear the rich vocabulary and see the really beautiful, colorful pictures and have it read to us and taken all that information. It's a lot more fun and enjoyable. So they were excited to know that I was going to read that book to begin with. Again, during the story, my class was engaged. They were having a good time. I can see smiles on their faces. None of them had their heads down. None of them were talking with each other. They were just all engaged and listening and enjoying the book be read to them. And then afterwards, they all gave me a good round of applause. I think that one of the biggest downfalls is that, and it's my fault that I didn't have my student, my trustworthy student who recorded me. I didn't have him continue the recording and to hear more of the cheering because it was excitement. I didn't really ask any questions. What I did is asked him, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, thumbs down if you really didn't enjoy it. All of my class gave me a thumbs up. That's something that our librarian at school does after she reads to them. She allows them to give a thumbs up, two thumbs ups, and so I did the same thing. And I let them discuss the book in groups, and I walked around and during that part I wouldn't have been able to record them because I would have been walking around and they would have got the recording of their faces. But they really enjoyed it before, during, and after, and they were really receptive to it. So I appreciated that from them, and I told them that. Um, were my strengths and my challenges throughout the reading experience? Well, I think my strengths were my pace of reading the book to them. I don't believe I was too slow. I don't believe I was too fast. I think I had just the right pace for them to understand the words and absorb the words. And then I also believe that my tone was appropriate for the book. I think my tone was appropriate for the class size. I had a total of 28 students at that time, and I would say my weaknesses were probably more. I could have used more hand gestures and maybe different tones of voices, like for characters, and making the book seem more realistic and be more, I guess, peppy and walking around. I just didn't walk around as much because I didn't want to get anybody's any of my students' face on camera. Another one of my weaknesses is that I ended up when I practiced the recording, it seemed like the image was really small, and then when it did record and I watched it, it got larger, and so one of my students' face almost the whole time was visible at the bottom right hand corner. But what was really cool is after I viewed that and I enjoyed the video and I thought it was a great video and I wanted to keep it, I asked that student's parent and told her about it and let her know that it was for class and that I don't mean any harm by it and that I apologize for getting his face in there, and if she wants me to, I won't use it. I can just re-record. And she thought it was a great idea to do this read aloud. She appreciated that I told her about it and that I was doing it for school, and she said she had absolutely no problem of me showing the video and using the video in an educational way, and that's exactly what I intend to do, is just use it in an educational way to help myself out and then anybody else who sees this video. So although that may have been a weakness, it was probably a positive and a strength that I got to uh, talk to the parent and allow her to make that choice because it is her child. But she was totally fine with it, totally cool with it, and I appreciated it, and it makes it all a better video because of that. Because he looks really excited during and after the book was read. So those are a little bit about my strengths and my weaknesses throughout that experience. Things that I could have done differently to improve the next read aloud. What I would do again is using more gestures, walking around more eye contact. So I think more practice with the book, reading it over and over, so to know what's to come and the words to come and the pages to come. and use more life in my voice, more life in my body and my hands, so that it could be more of an enjoyable experience for my class. So that's something I would definitely do differently, and maybe even like talk in a different character's voice so that they smile more and laugh more and literally become more engaged and enjoy it more. So that's what I would do for my next time I read during my next read aloud. What did I learn about reading to children? Well, that it is very powerful. Reading to children is extremely powerful. They enjoy it. What we don't realize is that when they absorb those words, they hear the words. It's statistically they're going to remember them, especially when the way Mr. Muniz said it. Or and I remember when he read that word uneventfully during. I've heard that word. I know that word. So they gain great rich vocabulary when it's read to them. When they read a book and they don't know how to pronounce a word, they skip it, they go over it, so therefore they don't know what that word is, they've never heard it. But when they hear that word be read to them, they absorb it like sponges. So it is a powerful thing. As small as the task may be, it's very powerful for them and they enjoy it. If you have never read aloud to children before, you'll realize that when you see their faces, they're so engaged and they're listening, and it's almost like you're the movie being played and they're watching it. So it is a very, very powerful thing. So what I've learned is that kids enjoy being read to, they love being read to, and it is extremely powerful, and they are very engaged, and it's a wonderful thing, and it's a wonderful feeling during when you know that they're enjoying it. Um, and what did I learn about myself as a teacher? Well, I learned that this is literally the job that I want to do for the rest of my life. It is unlike any other job. It is a powerful thing. It is a very inspirational thing that you can be a mentor to these kids, that they look up to you, that they sometimes see you as their parent as well, and friend, and someone that they can truly trust. So I learned that this is the career for me, that it is truly a blessing to be able to be a teacher, and to continue on to becoming a teacher. And I've also learned that it's fun. It is really fun to be able to work with these kids um, who really look up to you. And I'm truly happy that I'm in this position right now. And I've also learned that I love these kind of assignments. I think it is great for future prospective teachers. Um, it gets their foot in the door to be able to recognize their strengths and weaknesses, to realize what really does go on in a classroom on an everyday basis. And I just really learned that I'm enjoying it, and I couldn't appreciate this assignment anymore. So that is my review on my read aloud of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, written by Judy Barrett and drawn by Ron Barrett. It was an amazing book, and a really cool movie. I definitely recommend it to any child, any teacher, or any parent who wants to read their child a really cool book. So, um, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed this, um, professor and doctor. I really appreciate this assignment. Thank you very much. Have a great day.